Job knew that his wife was talking foolish or whatever. So he said, what shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this Job did not sin with his lips. So because he knew she was talking foolishness, he know God, he allow you to have things, and he allowed good things to happen, he allowed bad things to happen. He allows it because God's in control. God, Job had that understanding. So his wife was talking foolish, and he did what he's supposed to do, and he corrected her, told her, she was a foolish woman, what she was. Because she cracked under pressure, she let her flesh get in the way. So I mean, this is just a strong testament of Job, like just how we should look at things, and things not always that bad. We just got to make sure we just do what we're supposed to do, and don't let our flesh get the best of us, because the spirit is willing, most indeed, but then your flesh is weak. So we're gonna go to Job 10 now. Job 10. So like I said, Job had a lot of understanding. He knew that God allow this stuff to happen, but then, he get weary, and we always anybody would get weary in that type of situation. You lose your kids in one day, you lose your house, you lose everything, basically everything you have, and then you get these boils on top of you, on top of that. So, I mean, naturally your person's going to get weary, it's just our flesh, you got feelings, things going to happen, you're going to get tired, So we're going to go to Job 10, and we're going to read one verse. Verse 1. My soul is weary of my life. I will leave my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. So Job said his soul was weary. He's going to complain amongst himself. He's not going to, bring it to nobody and complain about it, because, like I said, he know that, God allowed this to happen, and, he was just tired because, like I said, he lost everything, and at this point, you don't know what to do. It's just like, man, but he still had the spirit, but his flesh started to get a little weak, and that's only natural, and that's what it says, a constant battle every day, and you see just in this one little day time frame, he just, just lost everything, and it was just, when it rains it pours, like the saying goes, and everything was just, haywire with him. So he was weary, he said, I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. So basically he was just, he was talking to himself, and he was just like, man, why this got to happen to me and stuff? Why not? Like I said, you think things are bad, look at Job. Think about what he went through. Things was terrible. So the little stuff we go through, we just thank God that it don't kill us, make us worse than what we are. We go through little things, and a lot of times it's us all small things, because it's always going to be something, especially when you're trying to live your life right, when you're trying to walk after the spirit. It's always going to be a challenge. It's always going to be something. Satan, that's just, like I say, that's his job, to trip you up, to try to throw you off. How do you be like Job wife and curse God and that? So, you have to be mindful of those things. So we're going to go to Job 3 now. Job 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11. And right here we're going to see, this is when Job, like, he let the flesh get the best of him, basically. He started saying, basically the Lord, I shouldn't have been born the day I was born. I should have been, that day should have even existed. So we're going to read that. Job 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 11. After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which I was sad. This is a man child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above. Neither let the light shine upon it. Let the darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. So he was just, that day shouldn't have existed. It should have just been destroyed. God shouldn't allow me to be born. It should have been dark. The light shouldn't have shined upon it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. Verse 6. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined into the days of the year. Let it not come into the numbers of the month. So that day should even came to pass, according to Job, because like I said, he let his flesh get the best of him. Verse 7. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. So it should just be all sorrow. That day shouldn't be no joy from people jumping in joy and doing this and that. That day shouldn't have even existed. Verse 8. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawn of the day. So he wanted to be just dark that day. No light. No joy, just sorrow. Because what he was going through. His flesh took over. And because he went through so much, like I said, the average person couldn't even handle that. So he was going through it, and his flesh was getting the best of him. Verse 9. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day. Verse 10. Because it has shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor his sorrow for my eyes. Why did I not from the womb, why did I not give up to ghosts when I came out of the belly? So basically, I should have died in my mom's stomach. I shouldn't even came out of her. So I should have been born. Plain and simple. So like he just, Job was going through a lot. He got some with that. He's just going through a whole lot. And like I said, this is, a true example of how we should, put ourselves in his shoes. Think about that, like, man, So like I said, things you go through is not as bad. This is bad. This is terrible. And like I said, he had the spirit, but then his flesh got weak. So yeah, verse 11. Yeah. So why did I not from the womb? Why did I not give up to ghosts when I came out of the belly? So now we're gonna go to Job 38 now. So now he did all this murmuring, and he had enough. He just had enough. So we're gonna go to Job 38 now, and we're gonna read verses 1 to 6. So this is when God, comes into the scene and tell Job, what time it is. Basically Job was going off murmuring and letting his flesh get the best of him. And before we saw that, he told his wife, you're foolish, but he fell into that trap because there was so much going on with him. So we're going to go to Job 38 and we're going to read verses 1 to 6. Verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkened counsel by words without knowledge? So basically, how you going to say something you don't have no knowledge? How you going to just, question me? Verse 3. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Verse 4. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare it, if thou hast understanding. So he checking Job. He like, where was you when I made the foundations of the earth? Job going all off and, murmuring and, acting crazy and stuff because of what he went through. So he felt like God just basically just left him to die. Verse 5. Who have laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who have stretched the line upon it? So, God telling Job said, who laid the measure thereof, if thou knowest, who have stretched the line upon it? So, like I said, he checking Job now. Verse 6. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? So he asking Job these questions, and Job, he can't answer him because, he going all off and letting his flesh get the best of us. And like I said, we have to be very careful because, you get in the situation and you upset and you let your flesh get the best of you. You can say some things that, God don't like. And, it's like, man, you have to think about, like, man, I shouldn't have said that because, God allowed things to happen for a reason. Maybe something you did that wasn't right. Like I said, you walk in the spirit, that don't mean, and you trying to live right, that don't mean that everything's going to be gun-ho, happy, and peaches and cream, that you're going to be able to do, have to worry about anything. It's even harder because you know better. You should know better. So you have to not fall into the trap. I said Job is a good book to read, to get some understanding, or get an example of a prime example of, the things he went through, and we be mindful of those things they went through, and just think about our situation. Hey, it's not that bad, So, God came in, asked him, where was you, when the foundation of the earth was made, and so basically you talking about knowledge, you just going off of your flesh, you letting it get the best of you. So we're gonna go to Job 42 now. Job 42, and we're gonna read verses 1 to 6. Job 42, verses 1 to 6. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that thou cannot do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hid counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. So, Job can do nothing but say, look, I was in the wrong. I don't have no understanding because I let my flesh get the best of me. Verse 4. Hear, I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Verse 5. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes. So, Job immediately repented, because he felt like, man, God told him, like, man, where was you? And you talking out of, talking foolishness, talking without knowledge. And, Job acknowledged that. That's one thing we have to be able to acknowledge when we're talking foolish or being foolish, letting our flesh get the best of us. So, he got to be glad that God didn't destroy him. He just, Job had his moment, and God, corrected him. Job repented, and, he asked for forgiveness, So we're going to skip down to verse 12 now. Verse 12 and 13. So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she asses. He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. So, God destroyed everything. Allowed Satan to destroy everything. And his kids, his cattle, his house, everything. And once Job repented, and God, allowed took the wrath away from him, the devil, destroying him, doing all this type of stuff. Once God took that away from him, he blessed him even more. Because I said that Job was a righteous man. He feared the Lord. Like I said, he let his flesh get the best of him. It's only natural because I said we got this fleshly body, and it's gonna battle with your spiritual mind all the time anyway. Especially if you're trying to do the Lord's will, you're trying to walk that walk. That flesh is gonna, try to stop you from doing it because things that you lust after, things that you desire, sometimes they're gonna trip you up from what God wants you to do. So we gotta look at Job as an example. He lost everything. He got sores on him. I mean, he basically just got tortured. He lost his kids. But at the end, God ended up blessing him with even more. He had more kids. He was able, to live, back to be things were back to normal, basically. But he had to endure to it. Sometimes God had to shake your world up, to get your attention, to remind you. Because we can forget, sometimes we get caught up in the things, the material things, and we can get caught up in that and forget that God is the reason why we have these things. So, this is a testament right here to show you that, God give it to you and he can take it away, but in the meantime, you still have to keep walking that walk. You can't, turn away from the Lord once you find out the truth, because you're going to be worse off than you was when you first came into the truth, so you have to just keep on enduring and, walk after the Spirit and not let your flesh get in the way. So now we're going to go to James 4. James 4. But like I said, the Lord is a merciful God, and he do things. We can't question the things he do because he do it because he feel that he need to do it, and we shouldn't. You just don't have no right to question the Lord. Sometimes we don't understand things, but a lot of things is not, things for us to understand. His thoughts is not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. All we can do is just try to do the best we can and try to live according to his word and try to serve him the right way. That's all you can do, when you're dealing with this guy. Because like I said, he can kill you and his death is forever. You burn in a lake of fire, because you gave up. So why would you want somebody to be in your kingdom, serving you and, being one of your, soldiers or whatever, and you can't even do the little stuff, So, I mean, God's going to test us, like I said, when you saying you want to live for the Lord and do right, and you want to live after the Spirit and stuff, he's going to test you. Believe me, it's going to be a test every day. It's going to be a battle every day. But you have to endure.